Welcome everybody officially. My name is Zach Veers and I'm the clinic owner and therapist here in Seattle. Just a quick introduction about me, how I got here and my background. So I was introduced to Egoscue when I was in college. So I studied exercise sciences and one of my professors had used this method to address his chronic back issues. He was a golfer, had scoliosis, and this method really was a life changer for him and getting him out of pain. And so he was a big fan, and so he taught about it in some of my classes. And at the time, I thought it just really made sense. I really liked the idea of using exercises and stretches to change our posture and how we feel and allowing us to heal naturally. So I did some personal training and I was, still trying to figure out what I wanted to do after I graduated. But I thought, oh, this could be something I could use to help my personal training clients. And, didn't really think it would be something that I would use personally because I was young and invincible, right? This is an old person's thing. Well, turns out I started having a lot of back and shoulder issues when I played racquetball in grad school. I was playing a lot. And so I thought, well, maybe I should give this Egoscue stuff a shot. And so sure enough, my professor assessed my posture. We kind of show you some examples of that, but I got to see exactly what was going on with my body. And then it just totally made sense why I was hurting. It wasn't the racquetball's fault. It was the body I was bringing to the court was not in a good position to begin with. So I immediately felt the difference. I started feeling better and was able to keep playing racquetball at a high level. And so it got me out of pain and kept me out of pain. And so I decided I wanted to, help other people experience the same thing. So I got certified and got a job in Portland, actually working with Kelly and her husband, Martin, in the clinic there out of grad school. And so I worked there for about a year and a half and got more experience, of course. And then about 6 years ago, moved to Seattle to open up my own clinic here. So I've been here as 6 years, I guess getting close to 7 now. In January, it'll be 7. So that is, and I don't play racquetball anymore, unfortunately. I've played a few times in the past few years, but I've converted to pickleball. So if any of you are pickleball fans, we should chat. So Kelly, why don't you introduce yourself?
I love it. I'm so glad that I still get to work every month with Zach remotely on our workshops, because I definitely miss having him here in Portland with us. But Martin and I own the Egoscue Portland Clinic, and I have been doing Egoscue almost 20 years now. So I started off as a personal trainer, read Pete's books and thought, wow, I could really help all my clients with this and myself. So I started off with the same things as everyone else: posture photos, gait analysis, functional testing to find out where my muscle imbalances were. And I got a personalized, customized program for me. At the time, I had neck pain and got rid of my neck pain, started helping my clients at the gym, then converted completely just to Egoscue specifically, became fully certified, and then even got a chance to work for Pete himself for 2 years down in San Diego, which was such a blessing. I learned so many great things from him, and just working at the corporate office with lots of tenured therapists. And then, of course, Martin and I started dating long distance way back then, and then I ended up moving back up here because we got married, and now we're co-owners. So that's in the short our story. And so sleep is something that we talk about all the time with our clients, and people have so many questions about sleep when they come in. So I think it's really a great topic for us to talk about at large. And this might be information that you've heard before. It's a good reminder, or there might be some new things that you're like, oh, wow, like I didn't know that, or I hadn't thought of that. Why don't I try this? Versus that. Or you might hear some information here and think, oh, wow, I have this whole other idea. It could spur some new ideas for you and for us, all of us. which is great. You know, when people come in, a lot of times it's, you know, I'm not sleeping well, I'm in pain, you know, or I go to bed and I wake up in pain, or either in the middle of the night or in the morning, I'm stiff, I'm sore, I'm tight, right? And so the big thing at Egoscue is, okay, well, you know, it's the body that you're taking to the event, whether it's racquetball, like Zach said, or, you know, to the gym to work out, or out on your walk, out on your bike, out swimming, right? If you're having pain, we have to start looking at, well, what are the root causes of that pain? And addressing those key issues in the posture and in the alignment that you're taking to the event. And your bed is no different than any other sport, or even vacuuming for that matter. So, you know, it's not the bed, it's not the pillow that you're using, and it's not how old you are, because, you know, all your body parts are the same age. And why is it that if you go to bed and you wake up with only back pain, or only neck pain, or maybe one-sided pain versus the other sided pain, you know, your whole body is all the same age. So that kind of debunks that theory, right? So we're here to like really learn about what the root cause is of the pain that you're dealing with before you go to bed, in the middle of the night when you might be waking up, or in the morning. All right. And so you may have seen this picture in the book, or when you've been in for a visit with us. This is the first thing that we show clients when they come in after we've taken their posture photos, their personal posture photos. And we compare them to what we call Function Freddy. And so this is just a picture from a textbook, right? An anatomy textbook, of how the body is designed, right? And we all have 8 load-bearing joints: 2 shoulders, 2 hips, 2 knees, and 2 ankles. And how those are in relationship to each other in an upright position make make a big difference in how you stand, walk, and move. And so I like to preface this by saying, like, no one ever looks perfect, right? You couldn't look perfect unless you lived in a bubble, in you know, a movement bubble, and you were conditioned from childhood with no accidents, no injuries, no anything, right? No one would ever look like this in the real world, because, you know, our posture is really a snapshot in time of everything we've done up until now muscularly, and all the stimulus we've taken in from our environment. So we really use these pictures to just help give us a clue and an insight, and to get us to start thinking about our own posture, because posture is subconscious. So it's really important when you come in for your first session, or today, you're going to start putting on your own posture therapy goggles, and you're going to start thinking about and feeling into your body to see, well, what is going on in my body, and what do I look like posturally? What really could be contributing to my discomfort, my physical limitations, and my sleep disruption. So things that you want to look for when you're looking at your posture from the front view, if you're looking straight into the mirror, you want to look at how balanced are your shoulders? How balanced are your hips? Do your kneecaps point straight ahead? Do your feet point straight ahead? Do your arms hang at your sides with the side of your finger and the thumb and the side of the pointer finger facing front? Or do you see like 4 or 5 fingers in the front view, right? The body works in 90-degree angles and straight lines. That's where all the deep core posture muscles work to hold up your posture and your frame. So we're pretty amazing healing machines, and we're the only upright biped on the planet, which I think is pretty unique and extraordinary. And so it's designed perfectly, absolutely perfectly. There's nothing wrong with your design. But over time, you know, accidents, injuries, lifestyle, habits, sports that we play, one-sided sports like racquetball, tennis, golf, all those things, they create muscular imbalances, right? And so from the side view, this is a way to look at your body. If you can look sideways in the mirror, And your ear, shoulder, hip, knee, and ankle, all in a nice straight line with your elbow and your wrist as well on that straight line. Your pelvis from the front to back should be neutral to slightly anterior, right? And the ears should be above those shoulders, nice and tall, right? I mean, when you look at posture that is more aligned and more sound, more balanced. I mean, there's a whole way of thinking and being, you know, when you're standing with your feet hip width and parallel and straight, you have a lot more endurance. You've got a lot more strength. You have a lot more, you know, stability for sure. You're more bulletproof, that's for sure. Than when you're imbalanced, right? When you're imbalanced, your balance is off, and you can, when you walk, you might shuffle, or you might catch a toe all the time, or trip a lot, or have a hard time going upstairs, that kind of thing. Have a hard time getting up and down because, you know, the muscles just aren't in the right position, the right alignment to actually work properly for you. So there's lots of things that go into having posture that's more aligned, and you can utilize the muscles more effectively, and being out of alignment, aka sleep, right? So common symptoms associated with sleep. How many of you, you can raise your hand, have any of these symptoms when you sleep? You can go down below and hit reactions, and then just raise your hand or put a thumbs up. Do a thumbs up if you have any of these: the low back pain, neck pain, heel pain, tight hips, or breathing issues. Maybe some of you have used a CPAP, or, you know, have some sleeping issues. So I only see a couple hands, but I'm assuming there's probably more, and that's why you're here, right?
Anybody have any issues that isn't on this list, maybe that you're curious about? We can talk about that too, but if you're comfortable sharing, of course.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself and share, or put it in the chat, whichever you feel comfortable with. Anybody? Dare to be bold.
I'll be bold.
Good, you go.
Just recently, and by the way, I work with Martin in Portland. And I've known about Egoscue for a long time. Anyway, I have just recently, I during the day, it doesn't bother me, but when I'm laying on my left side, my left hip is giving me pain. And it sometimes goes down the leg, and then I'll turn over on the right side, and then they'll sometimes, as I'm sinking into the mattress, it'll also bug me as I'm laying there on my right side after a period of time. So I'm kind of bothered by this left side, and I'm like, what have I done with my hip that is causing me this?
Yeah, okay, that's another great one to add to the list, because that's also something that's very, very common. Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, and so what we want to start, oh, was there somebody else? One more?
Oh, hi,
Person-
Paula here. I don't know.
Go ahead, Paula.
Okay, so I don't have a specific pain that I can really identify with, except a history of insomnia. And I have tried just about every over-the-counter natural, and my body likes it for a little bit and then it stops. I will say, just through searching, maybe about 9 months ago, I came across some Egoscue exercises that the therapist said would help with sleep, and I did it, and it did help. But I lost the information on it. So I think maybe just my body doesn't relax well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that information. We're definitely going to be talking about that.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, because I know you're not the only one, right? Yeah, so a lot of people just really experience tightness, tension, pain, laying on one side versus the other, having to flip flop a lot, basically just kind of being restless or just not comfortable, kind of wiggly, right? Well, we have to start thinking about back to the posture, how would the posture that you have be contributing to low back pain? If your pelvis is really tipped forward in an anterior pelvic tilt and you have a really pronounced low back arch, when you lay down in bed and you stretch those legs out and you lay on that mattress, that low back is still in a really overarched anterior position. So that low back is just going to be held in a really tight position all night long. And if you've been sitting all day and then you lay down and you open those hips up, because when you're sitting, the pelvis is more at a 90-degree angle, then you stretch those legs out, whoa, you've gone from, one position to the other opposite extreme, right? So that's one way that low back pain happens when you sleep, is the position of your low spine and your pelvis prior to sleeping. And you have to start thinking about your movements that you do during the day that contribute to the posture that you're actually in. And then when you go to bed, those sleeping posture positions, and how they correlate to each other. Okay. And then neck pain, we're going to talk about this in a little bit more detail with pictures and things with pillows, but kyphosis is a huge epidemic across the world since the technological, advancement of the internet and, cell phones, right? Everything that we do is in front of our bodies, and driving and eating and cell phones and computers. And there's really not anything that gets us out of the box. So it's called kyphosis, the rounding of the upper back. And when the shoulders round, the head will actually be forced in front of the center of your body. And so when your shoulders are rounded and your head's in front of your body, when you lay down on your pillow, your head is going to crank back this way. And your chin can be higher than your forehead when you sleep. So that can shut off airways and make it hard to breathe. And you can have all hosts of symptoms just because your shoulders are rounded forward, your head's in front of the gravity line. And when you lay down, you either have to put an enormous amount of pillows just to hold yourself up, or you don't have enough pillows and you're here and you're sleeping with your chin higher than your forehead and cutting off oxygen, to your body. We have to always remind ourselves too, like, why do we sleep? Well, we sleep because we have to regenerate our cells. We have to rest our body. And we've got to detox, right? So if you're waking up feeling achy, painful, tired, you probably weren't getting, enough rest to fully repair the cells and to detox the body. So anything that we can do to set our bodies up for a better night's sleep, getting more oxygen into while we're sleeping, and better posture, better position, more comfortable sleeping, we're going to be able to detox and cellular repair so much better. Heel pain's another one that we talk about a lot. Is like people will have plantar fasciitis. They'll sleep with their heels into the bed and wake up and their heels will be tight, right? And there's a whole host of posture reasons why that could happen. When the fasciitis in the feet get inflamed, we have to start looking at, well, what is the foot position? Do your feet point out? Do they point straight? What position is the knee in? How can we start to help take the stress points in the body and make them more balanced while you're sleeping? Because if you're sleeping and you have a lot of pressure in one area versus the other, it could really mean that something's off, right? And the way you position your pillow and how you side sleep, how you back sleep, all those things can contribute to the pressure points and the pain that you're waking up with. So really good food for thought. Like, I really want you to step into your day-to-day routine, habits, activities, lifestyle, and also think about your sleeping posture. How are you sleeping? What positions are you in, right? And I'm sure you can raise your hand, like looking at these posture positions for sleeping, like especially this incorrect sleeping position. How many of you can raise your hand? Like, how many know you're already sleeping in this incorrect position with the tilted head, either up or back, or, with a high pillow on your side, right? And you can give me a thumbs up. Yeah. And it's really obvious when we put it on the screen here. Now, if your head is elevated on a high pillow, it's going to push your center of gravity, your weight down into those hips, into the bed, right? So you could see how you could wake up with hip pain with a high pillow underneath your head, laying in the side view. Also, in the side view position, when you are laying on your side and you have a high pillow and you do not have anything between your knees and your feet, the top leg, if you noticed, it'll bend and kind of go in front of the body. And that actually tips your pelvis and it kind of turns it inward, right? So that shortens the hips. It actually tightens the hips up and it creates a rotation in your spine to have one leg laying down lower and in front of the other leg, not stacked on top, right? So not only in the side view do you have a sideways kind of scoliosis curve when you sleep, but you also have a rotation in the spine. So if you have low back pain when you wake up or even before you go to bed, laying in that side position with nothing between your knees and nothing between your feet is going to cause a lot of misalignment while you sleep and a lot of strain and pain and discomfort. Of course, you're going to shift and wiggle, right? And try to go right to left and right to left. The correct position, we want to talk about that, which is the top picture. You can see how there's a really nice cervical support underneath the neck. So it's holding up that cervical spine so that the head is level and your cervical spine is level with the rest of your spine. And this top arm, I always like to prop the top arm up on a pillow, put a pillow underneath, like right at your chest, underneath that top arm, so that your shoulders can stay balanced and square while you sleep. So you'll have one here and you'll have one here to hold everything. And another little trick too, instead of having that arm out, if it's comfortable to have it out, great. That's wonderful too. And then if you can even put it underneath your head like this, it gives you just a little bit of external rotation of that hand. Because most of the day we're all really internally focused with our hands, with typing and everything's very internal. So even just having that hand underneath the pillow and having the pillow between you and your hand, your palm, that's helpful and supportive. And it takes a little bit of that pressure point, those pressure points, shoulders, hips, and feet, and balances it out a little bit. And then my favorite made a huge difference for me. I always joke and say that, once I was pregnant and then I had kids, I developed what's called pregnancy pillow syndrome, because when you're pregnant and you have this big round belly, you're just not comfortable. So I adapted with all these pillows to help me get comfortable. But it actually was the best thing for my posture. And even though I'm done having kids, my kids are 13 and 8, I still use all the same pillows. Because I have one between my knees and my feet, which is a body pillow that I use. And it helps keep my pelvis square and my knees and my feet nice and square while I sleep. And then I have, of course, one underneath my head and then one underneath my arm, so that my spine can stay straight.
Ellie, we got a couple questions, by the way.
Yeah.
About this. So someone asked about sleeping on their stomach or on their belly. So we don't have a slide on that. And I think, Kelly, you can chime in on this, but mostly because it's not really a great position to sleep in. There's a few reasons. I mean, if you think about, if we're trying to sleep in a position that basically keeps your body in neutral or not as stressed out or unnatural position. And when you're on your stomach, you're either going to turn your head to one side and sleep with your head twisted for who knows how long. And that can lead to, you wake up with a kink in your neck or something just from having it rotated, just, to one side for too long. Also restricts your breathing.
Low back pain
A little
too.
more extension in your low back. So just depending on your posture, that may not be a good thing for you. And the other thing to remember is these are all ideals, but the most important thing here is that, you know, the quality of your sleep and getting enough sleep is more important than the position you sleep in. So if you can sleep well, comfortably, and, you know, get 8 hours or however many hours you need, sleeping on your stomach, great, you know, but if you're dealing with pain, then it's maybe something you need to look at. But yeah, so we don't want to get too hung up on this. These are just ideals, and, you know, but ultimately you may be comfortable sleeping one way and you just can't sleep on your back, or you just can't comfortably sleep on your side and you always end up on your stomach or something. So that's, just wanted to put that out there. But and someone else asked about started kicking off my pillow when I sleep on my back. What's up with that? So
Started kicking it off the bed, like you're not using it. Is that what they mean?
I'm assuming so.
Yeah.
Back.
That's great.
Yeah, because your pillow is probably too big, kind of like this middle picture, or keeping your head up too high, and so you probably feel more comfortable with a little pillow or no pillow at all, which is fine. You know, that keeps your back nice and neutral. So yeah, basically you want to use as little of a pillow as possible and still comfortable when you're on your back, at least. So
Yeah, I think the most important part is if you are laying on your back, we were just going to transition into that, was that your forehead and your chin should be level with each other when you're laying on your back. So even if you're doing your Egoscue exercises, when you lay down on the ground for one of your exercises, if you notice your chin is higher than your forehead, it's because your shoulders are still very rounded forward, and you need to do more work to help get those open to reset your head and neck position. Okay. And the same goes for when you're sleeping on your back in your bed. If you're noticing you're still rounded forward and your chin is higher than your forehead when you lay down flat on your back, then you need to prop a pillow up underneath you at least an inch or two. There's usually, you don't need more than that usually, but if you do, that's okay too. To get the chin and the forehead level so that you can get oxygen into your airway. Now, in this neutral position on the left, there is no support underneath that cervical spine. I do kind of like having a little bit of support there, but not too much like in the tilted back photo where it tips his chin back. You know, this isn't CPR. You don't want to, you know, head tilt, chin tip, you know, and then no. Like you want it level and you want a little bit of support there, but not excessive. And then like Zach said, sleep is king. However you need to get sleep because it's so important. Your sleep is where, you know, you're going to repair those cells and build muscle, right? That's where you're repairing your muscles and detoxing the body. So any of the workouts that you did during the day, or any even of your Egoscue exercises that you do during the day, you know, you're repairing and, you know, resting and rejuvenating those muscles while you sleep. So I would say, like, don't force yourself into trying to sleep into a new position. If you're getting really frustrated or anxious or you're losing out on sleep, then go back to what you know and what you can do, and then make slow changes. You know, try a pillow just under the arms, or try just the pillow underneath the knee or between the knees and the feet if you're a side sleeper. Or if you're going to try laying on your back, try going down a little bit in your pillow height, like a little bit and a little bit over time, like gradually modify it to get to the position that feels better, right? But also we have to think about, well, what are we going to be doing prior to bed? How can we support our sleeping habits and make it feel better to sleep in a better posture position throughout the day before we actually even get to the mattress, right? Because if you're getting up in the morning and you're rushing, you're getting to work, or you're just, you know, got your to-do list and it's so busy, you've got so many things to do. I know how those retired people are. The list is never ending of the people they're helping and the things they're doing and the places they're going, right? There's usually not a lot of time for exercises, not until like the end of the day, right? So, but you notice throughout your day, you might be, kind of doing busy work and kind of running around or sitting a lot if you're driving, or if you're still working full time, you're getting up, you're rushing around, you're sitting in the car, you're sitting at work all day, you're exhausted after work, you drive home, then you come home, you sit, you rest, you eat, you watch TV, you relax, you go to bed. Well, you didn't move your muscles and get them fatigued and get them, working. So your body is probably not tired, even though your mind is. And remember, we're so overstimulated with everything that's going on around us. Everything's like 1,000 miles an hour right now. So it's really important that throughout your day, you start putting in posture positive stimulus to help move the muscles and move the body enough to be fatigued when it's time to go to bed, not just your brain, your body. You got to include the body too. And so I'm not saying go out and walk an hour a day. I mean, that's great, but maybe you don't have time for that. Maybe you need to break it up into 10-minute intervals throughout the day. Do some of your exercises in the morning, Egoscue exercises, do some in the afternoon, do some in the evening, like break up your program so that you're getting positive posture stimulus and movement throughout the day to help support your daily activities and support your sleep. Okay. And then also if you like to walk, if you like to exercise, you like to work out, think about when is the optimal time for you to be working out. Do you have a hard time settling down at night before going to bed? But you work out in the afternoon, evening, that might be fueling why you might have a hard time settling down. And if you've got to do it, then great, but try changing your schedule to see like really what helps support you sleep the best. Is it moving more in the morning, more in the afternoon, more in the evening, or more throughout the day? Like really start thinking about your movement habits and how you can start to rearrange them or shift them to support your sleep. And a bedtime routine, that is so important. There's a book that I love that I refer to clients all the time. It's called Change Your Schedule, Change Your Life. And it's all about like chronobiology. And it's a huge topic right now. I love that book because it talks about like, well, when should you exercise? What should you eat? And then when should you sleep? Like, what's your sleep habits and patterns? And I love the bedtime routine in that book. You want to shut down your technology, like an hour to 2 hours before bed. We're so inundated, right? So shutting that down. And if you are going to be on screens, it's really great to have the blue blocking glasses, the yellow tinted glasses, if you're going to be on screens at night, even during the day, just to help block that. Now they kind of build them into your glasses, which is great. But shutting that down an hour or two before bed, and then doing some positive posture exercises before you sleep are going to help unwind and undo the negative posture stimulus that you had throughout the day. So I think it's great to have a place in your house that you have set up where you can go to do a few exercises, decompress, let go of the stress of the day, right? Get your mind and your body ready for sleep. Okay. All right. And I think Zach's going to take over here and start talking about, let's start looking at this person's posture, but then also how does that relate to ourselves and our postures, and how we can kind of predict what issues might happen when we're sleeping.
Yeah. So I just wanted to show you guys this one more time, just to review, because we're going to get some class participation here, hopefully. But just remember, we're looking for shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles to be stacked up vertically and horizontally. So symmetrical body, meaning the same thing happening on the right as the left, is important. And then from the side, that vertical alignment is easy to see: ear, shoulder, hip, knee, and ankle. All right. So we'll just show an example of a real client here so we can get an idea of, okay, what does this actually look like in real life? So now's a chance to unmute yourself or type it in the chat, but what do you see specifically about his posture? What's off? Just comparing to that, ideal function Freddy guy.
The side view, his ear is way too forward.
Yeah. I mean, his head's barely touching the line, not let alone his ear, right?
Yeah.
So Yep, that's an obvious one. Thank you.
One shoulder's higher than the other.
Yep. Yep. So if you look at the front, his left shoulder here is a little bit higher than his right. And it's a little harder to see, but his pelvis is kind of doing the same
Right.
thing. Well, it's the opposite. His right hip is higher, and that's usually, not always, but typical situation where if the pelvis isn't level, the shoulders won't be level, or vice versa. They kind of work together. So if you see a shoulder that's higher, you can almost just assume that you've got some asymmetry in your hips too. So good. What else?
Shoulders are forward. You can see that by the back of the hands showing in the frontal view.
Yep. Yep. So we can see a few knuckles. They're not completely in front of his body, you know, so we do see that, but there's definitely a little bit of rounding, and you can see it from the side too. Just shoulders are kind of, I mean, everything's kind of ahead of that red line, isn't it? It's not just his head, right?
He's tipping to the left.
Yep, tipping to the left, right? So this center line, we have it centered at the bottom, right? Like where his feet are, it's in the middle. But even by the time we get to his knees, it's no longer centered because he's shifting his entire body off to his left side, right? Said pelvis tipped forward. Yep, knees and hips are forward. Yep, so everything is almost like he's standing on the balls of his feet, not so much on his heels, right? So good. So now think, why does this matter? Like, right, how does his posture affect his pain or his sleep? What might be the consequence of this? Just hypothetical. I can tell you what his problems were because I worked with him, but I want you guys to guess.
From that side lying sleeping picture, we could almost guess like what side he might sleep on from this photo.
Yeah, it's because of all these differences right to left, and he's favoring one side, one shoulder's higher, one hip's higher. He's probably more comfortable on one side of his body than the other, just because his body's in a different position on this side than this side, right? So muscles are compensating for poor alignment. Yeah, or muscles are really causing the poor alignment ultimately, right? That the position of your bones when you're moving or even just standing still is controlled by muscle tension, right? So what do you think? So if this guy tried to lay flat, like on his back without much of a pillow, like if he just had a small pillow, how do you think that would work out for him based on this side view?
Yep, hyperextended neck, yeah.
Right, because for his head, look at where his upper back is, way back here. Look how much space between where his head is and his back. So he would have to really either have a big pillow or he hyperextend his neck, and his neck is already strained. I mean, you can see like the bulge in his neck muscles here because they're working so hard to keep his head up because he's so far forward. So yeah, potential for neck pain, for sure.
That extra low back, he's got a really hyperextended low back. So, and his pelvis is tipped forward anterior too. So if he lays down, he's gonna probably have tight hips and tight low back as well.
Yep. Yeah, so as you can see, I mean, it's really potential to have pain anywhere, which is why at Egoscue, we kind of take pride in not chasing the symptoms per se. Like it almost doesn't matter where your pain is. What matters is where your body is. So if we can get your body in a better position, all those joints, because they're all connected. So regardless of where your pain is, we have to correct the posture, right? Mm-hmm. So, all right, here he is a few months later after doing his exercises. Besides putting on a shirt, what changed?
His ears are lined up.
His ears are aligned.
Yeah, his ears right on the line. Good.
Yeah.
I see a flatter pillow in his future.
Yeah.
Neutral pelvis. Yep. So
his shoulders look even.
Yeah, pretty darn close, right? It looks pretty symmetrical now from the front, centered on that line. side view improved a ton, right? So he's no longer tipping forward so much. He's got all those joints pretty well stacked up. So now that's just a lot less stress on his neck muscles, his back muscles. You can like think of all the muscles on the backside, hamstrings, calves are under less tension now. So if you had plantar fasciitis, you know, just by changing that, where that tension is placed on your lower legs, can make a big difference too.
Yeah, can get rid of that heel pain or tension tightness on the back of the leg and heel when he wakes up. Mhm.
Yeah. So, yeah, and the key here is simply, you know, he did the exercises every day, and that's really the beauty of Egoscue is you can change your posture. It's not something you're stuck with. It's not a problem with your bones. You know, it's just how your muscles have been trained, and we can train muscles, right? So it just takes time and repetition, and your body can adapt to it. So I'll just show a couple other examples here. This one's kind of extreme, but it's fun example just to show the potential of our bodies. So on the top is the before, obviously. And this came from a client in our clinic in Japan. And so you can see how bent over she was, obviously. And it was due to, I think, mostly because of her working in farmer in the fields. And so she was always bent over. So what does your body do? It just adapts, right? That's what allows us to survive. So you get better at doing what you ask your body to do frequently. You know, that's how it works. But the consequence of that is you can just imagine her back probably doesn't feel great. Or I mean, the whole thing just looks painful. So obviously she's a lot straighter now. She still has some work to do, but this just shows how even in such an extreme example like this, it's really never too late to make a change, right? And think about her breathing. Like, look at how small her abdominal and thoracic cavity is right now. Think of her lungs and her digestive system, her heart. Everything is like getting squished, right? So when that's as straight as she ever gets, and then she probably sits, and it's even worse. So just think of the potential for breathing problems or digestive issues, and how much better potential she has, at least to improve that with a better posture, right? So there's a couple other examples just showing the age span. This is something that affects everybody. This guy was in his 20s, kind of fit, active, otherwise healthy, but had a lot of different pain issues. And just showing his side view, you can see kind of like that first example, maybe not quite as extreme, but he's got that same kind of forward posture, the forward head, rounded shoulders, really excessively rounded upper back. And you can see now how much better up all those joints stack. And then we have someone who's a little older, and I just love this because doesn't she look like 10, 20 years younger in the after photos, right? And not a lot of time had passed, but just her posture is so much better that not only does she feel better, she had more energy. She was an avid hiker and photographer, and pain was starting to interfere with that. But luckily, she was able to make some positive changes, and now she's able to stay feeling young and active. So I just tell people it's never too late. Age isn't really a limitation when it comes to this stuff. So, all right. Any questions so far? Or if not, we're going to go on to the exercise portion. So I think we're good. All right. So caveat before we do any of this stuff, obviously everybody has different bodies and different abilities. So try to pick exercises that were relatively simple and safe, but this isn't medical advice. So if anything doesn't feel good for you, then stop or let us know, and we can maybe give you some modifications. But these are just generic exercises that will kind of address a lot of the things we're talking about today, and will could help your posture and help you prep for sleep. But they're generic, so it's not necessarily going to be the best choice for everyone. Okay. So before we do anything, we want to do a little self-assessment. So we can't take everybody's posture photos right now, but we can do a little assessment without the camera. So I'm going to stop sharing this for a second. Okay, so want everyone to stand up, and if you're wearing shoes, take off your shoes. Socks are okay, but just want it to be able to feel the ground. Okay, so just march in place a few times, kind of shake out your arms, shake out your legs. Don't look at your feet, just stand however you feel is natural. No cheating here, okay? Just put them where you think is normal for you. And if you want to even close your eyes so you can focus a little better, we're just going to stand still and just pay attention to what you're feeling on the bottoms of your feet. Specifically, like where is the weight distribution or where is the pressure? Is it the same on the right and the left foot? Maybe you feel heavier on one side. Maybe you feel more on the ball of your foot or more on the heel or the inside edge, the outside edge, just kind of, and it may move around a little bit, but what's the general feeling of where the pressure is? And so let's get some input here. Who wants to share what they feel on their feet? Is it same, different? What do you notice? Everybody's perfectly balanced. Paula? You're muted still.
I'll share. I felt more weight on my left foot and maybe angled a little further forward than I think a normal person should be.
Okay.
So when I tried to rebalance it, I felt like it felt better. I could tell a difference when I felt like I was trying to even it out.
Okay, cool. So more on one side and more on the front of the foot. Great. Anybody else?
Ben says, inside of my feet and mostly the ball of the feet. Julie, I roll onto my left foot and turn it out more than my right. My shoulder feels lower. Such great insights. You guys are starting to bring that posture conscious now. And that is the #1 first step in Egoscue, to learning more about your body and understanding it, and then beginning to start to treat it with exercise.
Yeah, so this is just a thing you need to try to change right now, just an initial assessment. And the reason we ask about the feet is because that's just a kind of an indirect way to measure how balanced your body is. If everything was stacked up the way it's supposed to, you would feel the same amount of weight on both feet, right? Because we're centered. You would feel the same amount of weight front to back. So the ball and the heel should have about the same pressure, and it shouldn't be too much on the inside or the outside. So just kind of evenly spread. So anything that feels different than that is just telling you, okay, something in your posture is off, and we're going to do a few things now to hopefully improve that, and then check it again. So we are going to do some stuff on the ground, but if you can't get it down on the floor, you could potentially do these laying in your bed. It wouldn't be ideal because the bed is soft, but we want to, as firm of a surface as you can manage, we'll use the floor. So we're going to need a floor, a chair, and a pillow. So if you want to grab those, we'll show you a couple quick things here.
It can be a bed pillow or it can be a yoga block. If you feel like you're gonna tip and you need that little pillow under your head, grab that too. This is a good place to start practicing that and knowing kind of what height of pillow you might need when you're on your back and you're sleeping.
All right. Let me know if you can see this, Kelly.
Yep, tip it up just a hair more because there's still a lot of carpet. Yep. Right there should be perfect. Yeah.
All right.
Here you go.
So I've got a block, but you can just use a chair or your couch, an ottoman, a coffee table. You're just trying to get your legs at a roughly 90-degree bend at your knees and hips, okay? And then just lay flat on your back, or if that's hard on your neck, if you find yourself really tipping up like this on your chin, then you could put a little cushion under your head. Your arms are palms facing up at your side, just at a comfortable distance. They don't need to be way up here or touching your body, just somewhere out to the side where they're comfortable. And all you have to do is rest there. So easy starting exercise, but this, you should feel your back, just make sure you're actually relaxed, and you'll feel your low back just kind of rest into the floor. Now, if you have really tight back muscles or really excessive curve in your back, you might notice that there's a gap there, you know, like your back's not actually touching the floor. But as you relax here for a few minutes, you should feel that kind of settle down. So the other thing you can do while you're here is just practice your diaphragm breathing or belly breathing. So if it helps, sometimes I have people put their hands on their stomach, because you want to feel below your ribs moving, not just up in your chest, but you should feel your belly expand when you breathe in. And ideally we'll breathe through our nose, and there's lots of different techniques, but we're not going to get into details, but just breathe slowly in and out through your nose and focus on breathing with your belly. So you should see it rise. And then sink as you breathe out. And you can do that for as long as you want. We won't do a ton of time right now, but just you could spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long felt good before bed, just breathing and with your legs up, neutral position like this. And that should just help reduce any twisting in your spine. It will help with the rounded shoulders and forward head. It'll help relax the muscles in your back. All right. Does anybody have any feedback? Is it feeling good, or anybody not feeling comfortable there?
You can also wait it out until your low back goes flat. If you have a big arch, that's, you want to try to release those tight muscles in the low back. Let it go flat before you get up. And the breathing will help with that, as well as this next exercise. Yeah, so then next I've got kind of a foam block here, but this will be at home, would just be a pillow, like a throw pillow off your couch or a yoga block. You'll just put it between your knees, same position. Keep your upper body relaxed, and then just squeeze the block between your knees, about a medium pressure, not as hard as you can. Just squeeze it for about 1 second, and then relax, squeeze, and relax. And really all you should feel working is in your inner thighs, kind of from your groin down the insides of your legs. You don't want to tense up your back or tense up your abdomen or anything else really. So just make sure that's what you're feeling, and just go nice and slow, on and off. And this is to help start to engage some of those hip muscles to help keep the pelvis in a neutral position. And as we do that, it should help continue to relax those muscles in your back. So we usually do like 3 sets of 20 with this, so 60 total reps, but just go until, you don't want to go until you're like completely exhausted, but enough to feel like you've done some work. You want to feel like your right and your left side are squeezing equally, and you're feeling the same muscles on each side doing equal work at the same time. That's really your goal. Doesn't matter how many you do. Right. So if you have if your pelvis, if your hips are not even, you might feel like, oh, whenever I squeeze, I can feel my right side more than my left, or one side gets tired quicker than the other. Those are signs that your muscles are imbalanced, and this will help over time kind of create more balance or symmetry with those muscles. All right, so we've kind of relaxed your back, we've gotten your hips working a little better. Now we'll do one last thing for your shoulders. So your arms are going to go at your side at like a 90-degree angle. So my elbows are bent, my hands are up in the air, and just a relaxed fist. You don't need to tense up your hands. So both elbows are touching the floor, and then I'm just going to squeeze between my shoulder blades. Like, think about pulling your shoulders down into the floor. They're not going to move a whole lot because you're already touching the ground, right? But imagine there's something between your shoulder blades and you're trying to squeeze it, like pinch them together. And if you can, pull them downward as well, like towards your hips, or as I like to think about, putting your shoulder blades in your back pockets. So they have to go backwards and downwards. So similar to the knee thing we just did, you want to squeeze for about a second, relax, squeeze, relax. So you should just feel those muscles between your shoulders, upper back area. Once again, don't tense up your lower back or your abdomen. Keep that soft. You can continue that diaphragm breathing, that in through your nose, rise up your belly full of air, breathing through all 3 exercises. Actually, if you can do that through all 3 of them, it actually will really help activate the muscles that you're trying to use in the other 2 exercises, the reverse presses and the knee pull squeezes. One person's question was, what position should the knees be in? The hips and knees should be at exact 90-degree angle, the closest you can get to that. If you have your legs up and over a chair or a footstool or a coffee table, and it's not high enough, just put another pillow underneath your knees or underneath your lower leg. But when your knees are up on top and they're hanging over, you're just going to relax them out. Don't try to hold them straight at 90 degrees and in a straight line. Actually let them relax, unless you're squeezing that pillow. If you're squeezing the pillow, then you're actively doing something. Otherwise, for the breathing part and the reverse press one, you're just letting them relax out to the side.
All right. So I can see a few people doing it, or see some empty rooms. So I'm assuming you're down on the floor.
Yeah.
But,
Or you all fell asleep, right? Hopefully.
yeah, wouldn't be surprised. So if you can imagine doing this right before bed, it'd probably feel pretty good, right? You relax, it releases tension, and might already start dozing off. So a great thing to do right before bed. Really not a bad time to do it, but right before bed would be great. So
Yeah, give it a try for a week, see what happens. You have nothing to lose, right? These are just generalized, and we chose them out of 500 that we have, because we knew that grounding the body, centering the body, aligning the body, getting out rotation. When you're on your back, everything's flat. You're like the guy in the picture, right? Half of your body is function Freddy here. When you're laying on your back, your ear, shoulder, hip, knee, and ankle are all in a straight line. You can't rotate, you can't round forward, you can't have a lot of the upright posture compensations that you have throughout the day when you're laying on your back. So this is a great place to kind of start to get your body ready to sleep.
yeah, so let's stand up again. Don't sit in your chairs quite yet. So stand up, shake it out. Let's reassess, see if we feel any differences in our weight distribution now. So stand still.
Yeah, you might need to get up nice and slow though. If you're feeling like a little dizzy or lightheaded, it's because you probably have a lot more oxygen in your system right now. So maybe go to sitting, then standing, that's okay. And then when you're ready, go standing and feel into the bottom of those feet again.
Yeah.
And
So
then,
what do we feel now, and what's different than 10 minutes ago when you checked before? Just feeling yeah. Shout it out, Paula.
anybody feel any different? You can even just raise your hand on there or give a thumbs up.
There's an improvement. Thank you. Before it was all inner foot, and now it feels more well distributed, the weight.
Awesome.
And I should know this.
You're being reminded. You're being reminded.
I am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We
Anybody
all
else?
have those intuitive knowings within ourselves, like we feel like we should know this, or we feel like there should be a solution or some piece of information we're missing. And this is the tip of the iceberg is what we're touching on today. The answers are there. We just have to tune in, turn on, and tap into our body's experience. Find out, well, what is going on? Where is my weight distribution? What does my posture look like? And then what tools can we use to help realign our bodies and, get back to balance and function?
Anyone else feel anything different?
Oh, nice. Shannon's shoulders are feeling better.
Nice.
And what
Yeah.
was that, like 3 minutes?
For me, initially my weight was a little bit more on my left side and my inner foot rather than the center of the foot, and also after the exercises more balanced, and then also my head and shoulders were a lot further back than they had been.
Nice. Awesome, Bobby.
Great. Yeah. And you notice that when you get up off the floor and you sit up, like even looking at yourself in your camera, are your shoulders back and down? I always say we all get like free plastic surgery lifts when we do our exercises, especially us ladies, because You know, when your posture is rounded forward and everything's squished together, your chest squishes down towards your belly and you get a poochy belly, right? But when your shoulders are back and down, the girls lift up, the waistline, you know, stretches out, and you get more room between your rib cage and your pelvic girdle. So it's a great way to, you know, get a free lift without having to go through all the pain.
We also have some comments. Lower back feels great. My feet are more aligned. I feel more relaxed, less tension in the body. Nice.
Yeah. You're having a stressful day at work, get down on the floor, spend 3 to 5 minutes and give yourself this break, a reset. It's such a good practice. You know, we're all just so overworked, so over busy, so overstimulated that it's so great to get down and just rebalance, reset, ground into the actual ground where you're at.
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing what, you know, your body can do and how quickly it changes, right? So you all felt a change right away. And now it's not permanent, right? You're sitting here and you're gonna get up and get on with the rest of your day, and you'll probably go back to your old posture, maybe even within minutes, you know, and that's okay, because it takes time and repetition to change those things. But that's why every time you do your exercises, you're just, you know, getting that much closer to making it a habit, muscle memory, you know. So but hopefully that gives you some hope that, oh, I'm not broken. Like people always talk about, oh, I've got a bad back, or I've got bad shoulders, or oh, my feet I just have flat feet. Well, we just did 3 very simple generic exercises and changed some of that stuff, right? So it just shows you that your body's not as stagnant and maybe broken as you think it is, hopefully. So all right, so what's the next step? We've got, you know, we want to hopefully make this hour, we're a little over an hour now, but worthwhile for you guys. So there's a few things you can do now. Some of you may still be skeptical, which is totally fine. I was skeptical at first as well. It took me a while before I committed to doing it myself, but I think the best place you can go to get more information about this is the book Pain Free. So Pete Egoscue, whose name, you know, our brand comes from his last name, wrote several books. Pain Free was the most common. He just came out with a 2nd edition actually last year, but
Which is great. Yeah.
they're both, the original one came out in the 90s and it's still been selling great, but there's an updated version now. You can get it on Amazon for like $15. Read the first few chapters, you know, learn about it from the mouth of the founder himself. And there's a chapter in there about each body part. So if you've got back pain, go to the back chapter. If you've got headaches, there's a part on that. Even everything down into your feet and your hands. So I recommend that for everybody, regardless of what you're doing. It's just almost no cost and it's guaranteed to benefit you in some way. Now, if you need more guidance and maybe you've felt some changes today and you're like, oh, wow, I did feel some differences in my feet. I've got this weird thing with my back, or I've had surgeries, or I'm a unique case, you know, is this really going to be able to help me? Well, we're here to answer your questions. Kelly and I are offering free posture evaluations. So what that means is you can come into the clinics or just do it on Zoom like this, email us your photos. We'll tell you how to do that. And we can look at you and put lines on there so we can compare, just like we did with some of those example postures, but that way you can see exactly what's going on in your body and kind of connect the dots of, okay, well, this is why my neck is hurting because X, Y, and Z is happening in my posture. So we can help you just understand a little bit more about what's going on, why you have the pain. And that's free. We wouldn't be necessarily giving you a program or anything, but that's just like the initial step of learning more and answering your questions. We're happy to do that. So, and then the third option, of course, is if you're feeling good about this, you are ready to be done with your chronic pain and you want to make a difference, you're committed to doing something about it, then we'd be happy to work with you, partner with you to do that. And as a thank you for attending this, we're offering 10% off our normal prices as well for anybody who signs up for one of our packages or programs. So I'll put the prices right there. normal prices crossed out with what it would be after the discount. So just to give you kind of a quick rundown of what that looks like, 8 sessions or 16 sessions. First appointment, it takes a little bit longer, hour and a half. We'll meet with you one-on-one, go over your health history, go over your symptoms, your problems, what you want to achieve, your goals. And then we'll go through an assessment, taking your photos, also look at your gait. So how you walk, how you move, how you balance, how you bend over, all these things that will give us an idea of what's going on in your posture and how that's related to your pain. So that's the first step. And then we'll give you specific exercises, just like we did today, but, designed to address whatever postural issues we see in your assessment. Go through that together, make sure that it works well for you. And so you'll go home from the session with all your instructions on video and pictures, so you can do it at home successfully. And then we typically like to meet on a weekly basis at first so that we can reassess, make sure you're doing things correctly, because the form is really important. And then also, as your body changes, exercises and your needs are going to change. So we'll progress to more challenging ones, or as the pain goes away, then you're more stable. We want to start to strengthen more, and so that you can start to do more physical demanding activities. And then eventually just building a habit of lifetime maintenance. And so that, I would say most people within 8 sessions are going to feel and see pretty significant improvements, just depending on how severe your pain is. It may take longer than that, which is why we have the 16 sessions. And that also helps us get into the strengthening and maintenance phase in those latter sessions. So we can make a recommendation on after your evaluation of, say, here's what we think it's going to take, but those are just kind of the 2 basic options. And in order to take advantage of that discount, you just need to let us know you want to sign up before the end of the month. So we just got a few days left here, but our prices are actually increasing in October. So now is the chance to not only get this 10% discount, but avoid the price increase. So yeah, so that was a lot of information, but and I'll put our contact info here as well. And now's the chance for questions and hopefully answers. Does anybody have any questions that we didn't cover yet? Got some in the comments.
Do you have any opinion about rowing machines?
Rowing machines?
They're
Yeah.
not my favorite.
I mean, there's not, I think at Egoscue, our general approach is like, our bodies are made to move. Like, we need to, exercise is great. There's all different types of exercise and movements. As long as you're keeping things in balance, I think that just about anything can be good, so rowing is not inherently bad. But if that's all you did, then I would say, well, maybe, we need to do something else, that because you're kind of stuck in that seated position, you're doing a lot of bending forward and bending back, but you're not taking your hips through a full range of motion. You're not, so I don't know if that answers your question, but I think
Yes,
it can
it
be
does.
fine. Yeah, as part of like a balanced routine, maybe not the best if you've got like a herniated disc at the moment, right? You probably don't want to be doing a ton of rowing, but in general, it's fine. Let's see, someone asked, yeah, so scheduling, if you want to schedule something, you can reach out to either of us. If you're closer to Portland, reach out to Kelly. If you're closer to Seattle, reach out to me. Let's see.
And I answered Shannon's, or was it Shannon? Not Shannon. It was someone who asked about if they're existing clients. So existing clients already get the maintenance pricing, which is a discount, a $200 discount already. So the 10% off is for new clients.
Right.
But like I said, the prices are going up 10% October 1st. So if you want to capitalize on the existing prices in maintenance, then yeah, I would do that before October 1st. And as long as you call and schedule and pay before the 1st, you got it, all good.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for your participation. Hopefully that was helpful and
Thank you.
yeah,
I didn't know how to put my chat comment on, but oh well, thank you.
That's okay. We like it live and in person. That's great.
Okay. I have to leave, but I do have a question, but I'm going to save it for later.